Hello, welcome to our LHI online developer training. This is Jessica Frank. I am A2J Author's project manager for CALI, and today is likely to be a short meeting. We're just going to go over any questions that anyone had about A2J Author and any issues that you might have had doing the first sample exercise. So we're a small group here today. So if you do have any questions, feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you, or you can put them in the chat or the question box, and we'll keep an eye on those. Today's video was about macros, functions, repeat loops, and advanced logic. So those are sort of the most advanced things that you're going to do in A2J Author. It's how you personalize interviews and how you create really powerful interviews with logic or with repeat loops that can capture all of the information that you need from an end user. So the sample exercise today was to do an A2J interview with a Hot Docs template backend. So were there any questions or issues with the training videos or with the sample exercises? Feel free to raise your hand and I can unmute you, or put any issues that you had in the question or the chat box. Hoping you all didn't have too many issues with it. They're fairly straightforward as you go through them, hopefully, the sample exercises with instructions or screenshots. But if you did run into any snags, I'd love to hear about them. You can put them in here now and we can talk about them, or if you noticed a typo or an instruction that wasn't clear, I'd love to hear about it as well. Jessica@cali.org, CALI.org. So I'll just pause for a moment to see if there are any questions. Okay. James, I unmuted you and you are self-mute. There we go.
Hi there. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi there. I found the videos to be a little overwhelming in detail.
Okay.
And I haven't watched all of them yet. What would be really useful to me and perhaps to others, if I'm not bogging anybody down, would be to do a very simple template together and from start to finish and then upload it. Is that something we might be able to do?
With the Hot Docs side or doing an A2J?
Either or both.
Okay, so did you get a chance to try the sample exercise at all?
I did not. I don't even know which video it was in. And again, I confess I didn't get through all of them. I was a little overwhelmed with the detail.
Understandable. So in the syllabus with the class, there is what we call a sample exercise, is our sort of step-by-step instructions that I created, and the one for today's was to do an A2J front end and a Hot Docs back end, which I think might help you.
Okay.
Let me share my screen real quick and I'll pull.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find that now.
Sure. I can put the link in the chat real quick. Sorry, I'm just copying and pasting and have a couple.
No, take your time.
Okay, so the sample exercise there I put into the chat is a simple Hot Docs template. It starts with the Word document, and then you build the A2J interview, and then you also automate the Hot Docs backend so that you can see how the two parts go together. Oh, this was, sorry, that was the wrong.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Template. This is the one that's the A2J template, but on our website, we also have, I'll just share my screen in 1 second. I think I need to change myself to presenter. Okay. All right, so can you all see the A2J Author screen? Is that the one I'm sharing? Yes, okay. So this is on our website under the Learn tab. If you hover over it, there's sample exercises to learn A2J Author, and we have 12 of them. So some are complete in that it's a full A2J interview and an A2J text template. the full A2J interview and a PDF template. There's one that is specifically with hot docs. So it's the full interview and a full hot docs template. But then there's also ones that just cover short little things like the macros, which were part of the training videos for today, which is how you personalize an interview for an end user. So instead of saying just what is the birth date of the second child, you can say what is Julia's birthday or what is James's birthday based on the answer that the end user has given. So this one's just a short one for teaching macros. This one is a short one just to teach you how to do pop-ups, which are additional legal information that you can give to your end user. So there's one on scripting advanced logic statements. I think this is the sort of the practice though that you'd be that would be most helpful for you because it's an actual hands-on example. And then the one that was today's exercise has name field, date field, address, phone number, check boxes for marital status. It has a conditional. If they have children, you ask them a follow-up question about the kids. If they don't, move on. It has a simple repeat loop for a child's name and birth date in a table. And then it has a long text form. So it's not an actual court form, but I tried to include sort of all of the components that would be in an actual one. So I think this would help you. Rather than watching the videos, I would do the sample exercise if you're limited on time. Does that help? Make sense?
Yes, thank you. That's I never even got that far into it.
Yeah, and there's another
going to be useful.
There's another one on the syllabus for next week that is just an A2J front end with an A2J back end. So the one for this week was A2J and hot docs together, and the one for next week is just A2J and A2J. So that one is called the one for next week is called the quick and easy, and it should take about 30 minutes. This longer one with the hot docs usually takes maybe an hour or two to get going. All right.
Derek has raised his hand.
Thank you. Derek, I unmuted you, so you just have to self-unmute. There we go.
Yeah. So the homework for this week and next, so I guess I didn't find it on the normal LHI where we had been finding our homework.
Okay.
Are we just going to go on to that learn sample exercises? Is that where next week's homework is also?
Yeah. So I pulled the syllabus down from, it was like on the main landing page. It wasn't on LHI. Maybe I have the.
Okay.
I don't still have. Nope, I don't have the right LHI tab open still. But I put in the chat the homework, and I can send an email to the group after this with just including the 2 links. So the videos are, I think the video for this next coming is a little bit shorter. It's only 15 minutes long. So the videos for this week that was supposed to be done before today are 21 minutes and 14 minutes. So they're a little bit more of an investment. And they are very detail heavy. It's step-by-step instructions on how to do the 4 topics discussed. The video for the DAT one next week is only 15 minutes long, but again, if you're short on time, I would do the sample exercises rather than watching the videos. I tend to learn by hands-on, and so that's why I created those sample exercises. And they step you through with screenshots on everything that you need.
Okay, thank you. I for some reason I just hadn't found the page that's on your screen right now, so I'll go ahead and find that for next week.
Okay, great. And I will shoot an email. If I don't have access to all of you, I'll make sure to send it to Claudia and ask her to send it out to everyone. Yeah, so it's the same, it's a similar template that between the 2 automations, just whether you're using an A2J backend or a hot docs backend between today's and next week's. Did either of you have any other questions or concerns?
I do.
Sure.
I do. Does there exist a sort of sites map, I suppose you would call it, of all of these websites? We've got A2J, we've got LHI, we've got, multiple domains, and several of which need their own login and password credentials. And I wonder if there's a map of all of them.
There isn't. We're separate nonprofits, so that's sort of where the division sits. But Mark, do you have anything that was like a flow of how everything fits together? I'm trying to think if there's like an infographic of how we all fit together.
I'm not aware of one, but it's a good idea. I think we're dealing with three basic websites. One is LHI, LawHelp Interactive, where most of the action happens and where you can upload your template. The second is A2J Author, where you can create A2J guided interviews and then publish them to a desired location. And you're right, those two are separate nonprofits, separate organizations with separate login credentials. And then there's the LHI Resource Center, which is a library of materials, including the syllabus for this course and all of the homework, etc. And that's run by Pro Bono Net, but again, that does have a separate login. So we're going to take to heart the idea of an infographic, because I think you're right, it is confusing. But those are the three moving parts, basically, when you're doing this course and when you're participating in the community. And just a matter of keeping track of which one you need to be in at a given point.
Yeah, there are, so like from A2J Author, when you go to publish your interview to LHI, let me just show you. When you're in an interview, in the publish, if the buttons are right there within the interview itself, you can publish to LHI's site and it takes you directly there and walks you through it. And I might be logged in, but it usually requires you to log in right here. So it does sort of some of the upload work for you, but you do have to have your login information to get the final step of publishing it from our site to LHI's. Any other questions, concerns?
And feel free to raise any questions from earlier in the course or hot docs more specifically, rather than A2J, anything you guys are running into. We just want to give you as much support and encouragement as we can.
And if you run into any snags during the week while you're doing the sample exercises, don't bang your head against the wall, for a couple of hours. Feel free to just shoot me an email. And we can either do a quick GoToMeeting session where we share screens and walk through it, or we can do an exchange over email to figure out any sticking points. Hopefully the exercises are fairly straightforward, so there shouldn't be any snags. But if there are, I'd rather you reach out ahead of time or reach out at the point of conflict rather than sort of wasting your time banging your head on it.
So in terms of best practice, I actually started on what will be my project. And it looked to me like I might be better off to make one very long Word document where each, and put a page break between what will eventually be discrete documents to be filed with the court, rather than do each document individually. Would you agree with that?
Using hot docs as the template builder?
Yes. Well, and I haven't tried A2J yet, but
sure.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with hot docs, so I'll leave that one to Mark on the best practices for hot docs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely a common design question. I mean, the advantages, of course, if you put them all together in one, multi-section Word document, you're only working on one document, one template, and your user is only getting one file when they finish and assemble their document. The tricks really become if you need to have the sections formatted differently with different headers and footers, different page numbers, different margins, etc. then you have to start messing with the section properties inside of Word, and that can get a little tricky. So, James, you're dealing with conservatorship or guardianship forms, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And
So
they will eventually be turned back into PDFs once they're complete.
okay, and that's because that's what the court expects as far
Yes.
as end results.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Missouri demands PDFs only for some reason, which is
Okay.
makes little sense to me because the editors available are all inferior to Word, but that's what they require.
And they promulgate their official forms as PDFs or as Word documents?
As PDFs. But
Okay.
obviously for me, it's easier to convert them to Word so that I can edit them and then turn them back into a PDF.
Okay, well, that's kind of a separate issue, which I would just encourage you to think about. I think ordinarily, if the government agency or the court, promulgates things in PDF to begin with, I think you're generally best off going PDF all the time. In other words, don't do the interim Word step because
Well, the trouble is they're hard to edit because these forms have been developed over many years with somebody trying to edit the first PDF that was ever invented. So there are all of these objects and tables, and we had to buy a software just to take it apart.
I guess that's the question. Why do you need to take it apart? Because they're kind of defective in some way, or?
They were really meant for a typewriter.
Uh-huh.
And so it's very hard. A person wastes an enormous amount of time trying to fill in the blanks and have the text line up with the question being asked, for example. And so over time, I made usable Word documents out of each of them, and it actually took a long time with some of these documents to make it into a Word document, because in trying to convert it, all it did was give an image rather than character recognition.
Oh, I can only imagine how much work that was. You've already done that work, which is an important part of the equation. Yeah, but I would think before you plunge too much further ahead, you might just try automating in the Hot Docs Automator program, that can work with PDFs, one of the existing forms, because Hot Docs gives you the tools to position the answers exactly where you want them to go, and kind of, live within the color within the lines of the existing PDF form.
Okay, I don't mind experimenting.
I think and I'd be happy to talk to you on the side about that, but I think it's such a monumental design choice because I just find in Word, especially if you're dealing with a multiplicity of forms and the forms keep changing, you may be doing more work than you need to.
Okay, and I'm very focused on Word, I guess, because we only did one PDF in the lessons, and everything else was done in Word. But that might be what most people use in most courts. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, and again, I'm talking a bit from my experience doing a set of conservatorship forms for the California courts some years back. And there again, the courts promulgate them officially in PDF. And we decided to stick with PDF and just, compose packages of forms as needed based upon the user's answers. And it's worked out quite well. Yeah. So
yeah, it's definitely worth trying.
Cool. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. It's a labor of love, I'm sure.
It is. In the end, it is.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, Derek, have you got any other questions relating to other aspects of the course besides today's A2J lesson?
I don't think so. I don't think I have any questions right now, but thank you for going over all of this today, and I'll make sure to have more prepared for A2J next week.
Okay, so back to you, Jessica.
Sure. So I'll email out the entire group the homework. I'll put today's and next week's. And then next week is our final class. So we'll go over the A2J backend tool. We call it the DAT, the document assembly tool, that has some of the capabilities that you've learned how to do in Hot Docs. Both A2J and Hot Docs are hosted on LHI. So sort of whichever tool you feel comfortable in or how powerful you need it to be is sort of the decision. And I think next week, potentially Claudia has a little bit more to talk about, but I'm not 100% sure. Otherwise, we will see you all next week. Thank you for participating. With only 2 of you, this was much more engaging than I thought it would be, so I appreciate it.
I have actually enjoyed it. This was really helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.